Okay? And actually, a study by Everytown for Gun Safety. And let me tell you a little bit about Everytown for Gun Safety. Everytown for Gun Safety is actually an anti-gun activist group. And their goal is really just to ban guns. Really. But even sometimes, they slip up. But let's see what they have to say about the gun-free zones. They found that only 13% of mass shootings between January of 2009 and July of 2015 occurred in gun-free public spaces. As pointed out by Newsweek. They got this from Newsweek, and they shared it to their site, Everytown for Gun Safety. And they were like, they didn't even do the research. They were just like, it fits our narrative. Let's go ahead and put it on the website. Now, I'm just a lot like Zombie Annihilator, okay? Mike Mayhem is a lot like him. I like to walk down the middle between, two news segments, Fox News, CNN, whatever. I like to walk down the middle, listen to both sides, and be like, okay, let's put the stories together and find out the truth. Because, this is pretty clear that I'm getting sources from the Daily Wire, Everytown for Gun Safety, Mother Jones. I'm listening to it. I'm reading it. And, finding out their sources. Like, they didn't even put that their sources was from Newsweek. I actually had to do some digging to find out that Everytown for Gun Safety got that story from Newsweek. But see, on the contrary, there's an off-cited 2014 study by John Lott, L-O-T-T. He's an economist and a president of the Crime Prevention Research Center. Okay, these guys are dedicated to try to prevent crime. So how do you prevent crime? Yes, use research, collect evidence, facts, and data, and statistics. So John Lott, with the help of the Crime Prevention Research Center that he is the president of, found that 98.4. So my 98 was very close, but according to John Lott, it's 98.4% of mass public shootings from 1950 to about July of 2016 occurred in gun-free zones. Which most of us, the listeners, myself, Zombie Annihilator, American Mama, Daryl Brooks, we'll get more into him later. A lot of the free thinkers, the ones that are like, hey, I'm not going to listen to what people tell me to do. I'm going to think for myself. People like us agree that we fail to see mass shootings at gun ranges, police stations, NRA meetings, and so on that are not gun-free zones. The reporting on such pieces, as I have stated above, or before, is feeding misinformation and relying on fear to push their narrative. And that's what they're doing. We as patriots cannot sit by and let this stream of misinformation to continue. We cannot let these people fear-monger. And here's a little personal story. And oh my gosh, if you post a personal story on Facebook, the trolls are just going to come out. And they're going to report you as fake news. Here's something. You cannot report a personal experience as fake news because it doesn't fit your agenda. You can't. It's a personal story. You know, I'm not saying, hi, this is Mike Mayhem, live with Channel 7 News, and here's my personal story. And putting it out there, or not even saying that it's my personal story. There's people like that. So, here's a personal story I have. I actually had the opportunity to speak to a fellow driver, truck driver, from my company. He had to hitch a ride with me from Austin, Texas. Texas is the most Second Amendment supporting state I know. I love Texas for that, okay? And he had to ride with me from Austin, Texas to Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm not going to tell you who he is for safety reasons, to protect him. It's just another one of our drivers. And he's a really nice guy, okay? He's a really nice guy. In our conversation, I learned a lot about him. We talked about the video games he likes to play, the video games I like to play. We talked about his YouTube channel, my podcasting network and channel, Patriot Pride. We talked about his hobbies, my hobbies, and such. You know, okay, we just had a good conversation. Then the conversation got a little tense, okay? Because he drove the night before, and I took over driving, and I was just listening to other podcasts. I like to listen to other podcasts. I listen to everybody, you know, Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro, sometimes Alex Jones when he's not, sometimes he's a little too much for me. You know, I will listen to CNN and Fox News and MSNBC, and I listen to everybody. So, I was listening to a piece. It was done by Matthew Christensen on YouTube. And it was a very interesting story. And he overheard it, and then he kind of popped up. And whoop, it went a little political, okay? So, that's when we started talking about guns, you know, and the NRA. And he had admitted that he has fired guns before. He said that he likes firing them. But he also said, and it kind of frustrated me, because I'll tell you in a little bit, it frustrated me, that he said he will personally never listen to anyone that's a gun owner, okay? He said he doesn't want to own a gun, and he doesn't want to listen to a gun owner, okay? And that's what... because he's on board with the narrative that, you know, the NRA is looking out for the best interests of gun manufacturers. I was surprised that he didn't, you know, he didn't really call them child murderers. And I kind of looked at him and I'm like, hey, I'm part of the NRA, okay? I'm an NRA member. 5 years. 5 years, okay? And, you know, just the whole fact that I was already mad. Because that's the problem that the left has. I see it all the time. Because when a topic comes up, and the biggest topic is gun reform, or gun control. When that topic comes up, they don't want to hear anything from the gun owners. Because guess what? The gun owners are the ones that can verify if there is a gun show loophole, which technically there is, but not the way that they narrate it, okay? The loophole is actually a personal sale, a private seller, somebody like me, I have guns. I'm like, I don't need this AR-15 anymore. I've shot it quite a bit. I've got too many guns. I'm going to get rid of, 4 of them. So I go to the gun show where I know there's going to be a lot of people. And I sell it out of the back of my car. Okay? It's not illegal, and I don't need to do a background check. But here's the stipulation to that. If I look at somebody, and you kind of got to get to know somebody, listen to what they're talking about, you can kind of get to know somebody, and if somebody seems like they're off their rockers, you're like, nah, I'm not going to sell it, I think it's going to be too much for you, and you don't want to tell them the price, and, you make it seem like it's, very, very expensive, and or you could just flat out tell them, no, I'm not, you look fucking nuts, get away from me, I'm not selling it to you. You could do that. I'm not politically correct, so I would do that. Most people that don't want to offend somebody wouldn't. So, okay, but I can't believe that some people have the ability to just shut themselves out from discussing anything remotely important, especially when it comes to taking away the Second Amendment. It's a right. It's not a privilege. And then, there's always, the debate about, well, what about, and driving is a privilege. It's not covered in the Constitution. Okay? And if it is, I want you to show me. I want you to show me where your driver's license is in the Constitution. Okay? Excuse me. Sorry about that. I was taking a sip. Okay. So let's move on. Okay? Let's move on. Because it's just crazy. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about violence in cities. Because a lot of cities have some of the toughest gun laws, okay? And they have the highest crime. And there's people on the right that are saying, well, look at Chicago. And then there's people on the left that are like, well, what are you talking about? Chicago is the safest place. And it's just back and forth. So let's dive in and see what is going on, what people are talking about, and how crazy it is. Because I like to do research, and I did a lot of research, and wow. Okay, so let's talk about it. During a gun debate, many cities are mentioned, as the strictest gun laws and the most gun crime. Cities such as Chicago, Detroit, Los Angeles, St. Louis, and other cities throughout the United States have certain gun laws within the cities themselves, while the states, they vary in gun laws. So you have just like authorities, right? You have the federal authorities, you have the state authorities, you have the county authorities, and you have the city. Just like that. It's like subsections of laws, if that makes any sense to you. So you have to really be careful, in certain states. Texas, like I said, Texas, pro-Second Amendment. You go into states like Houston and Dallas and Austin and San Antonio and El Paso and, all these different cities, they may vary. But, more in the rural, my mouth just said, what the fuck did you just say? They vary, okay? So,